Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Paul, and in this video we're breaking down Black Mirror. Season 7 is now wrapped up, and in this video we're breaking down USS Callister into infinity! Though the series has had sequels like Plaything, this feels like the first true continuation with the main characters. Building off the back of USS Callister, that was obviously a Star Trek parody. These Easter eggs continue into this one with Into Infinity riffing off Into Darkness. That's even down to the title card, which has the exact same font. Throughout this video, we're going to be breaking down the rest and going through the episode scene by scene. If you enjoy it, please hit the thumbs up and make sure you subscribe for videos like this every week. With that out of the way though, thank you for clicking this. Now let's get into Black Mirror.
Either of you watched the Wrexham game last night?
I'm not into football, fam.
Okay, so USS Callister had the copies of the Infinity Office staff stuck in Robert Daly's sick simulation, forcing them to live out a life of Starfleet they ended up escaping in the end. This took them to the main game and stripped back the 60s Star Trek aesthetic applied to them. I love how this episode leans heavily into the Abrams verse, and it's complete with lens flare and fast camera movements. Now, having the ability to live in an ever-infinite digital universe, life seemed a-okay, didn't it? Well, it's rubbish. In this episode, we see the flip side of the events and the continuation of the story. In this new world, the characters can be killed, and to make things worse, they constantly need credits. Now, it turns out that Daly died in his apartment after the events of last time. In the show, Daly used nubbins to enter the game, and these have been seen in lots of other episodes. They return here, and something similar was also used in Striking Vipers 2. USS Callister also had Raymond Milk, which returns later on at the clone Robert Daly's. This featured in episode 2 of this season, and it's what Verity constantly drank because she was stealing from her mates, you piece of shit. Now, it turns out that a part of Daly was placed into the machine so he could build the worlds we see in the game. This lonely god still has those darker parts of his personality though. He ends up taking away Nanette's mouth, which may be a nod to the Matrix. It's of course a callback to Nanette's face being stripped away last time, which is a dream that still haunts her. That's where we begin, and we see she has nightmares about this. Times aren't easy for the crew, and as we see, they've had to turn into being bandits. I love how we have the guy trying to get the other players to talk about football, but they're not interested, especially in the Welsh teams. He then wakes up wearing a Welsh kit after having his credits stolen, which is a nice touch. Turns out the team are on the brink though, and this is due to all the microtransactions in the game. It's a further comment on the predatory practices studios have, which was really studied in common people. We also hear that Shania was killed in between the events of the two episodes. Played by Michaela Cole, she died on the way to her home planet. Obviously though, when an actor's missing, you start to wonder if there's been any drama, but Brooker said it was purely down to scheduling. Cole actually appeared in both Callister and Nosedive, and he said they were actually lucky to get her for 2 episodes in the first place. Either way, we then see Nanette in the real world as she returns to Infinity. Passing by more people in nubbins, we see she still has the coffee cup lid that was used to clone her last time. Along with this, the players are also complaining about the no player tag versions of her in the game. This includes names that reference Wraith from 15 Million Merits. There's also God Emperor Smart, which is not only a nod to June, but it's also a nod to Michael Smart from Demon 79. Full Metal Fuck It as well, and Ninja the Killer, which might be a nod to Sniping Vipers. Turns out the story of the bandits is becoming very, very widespread though, but Walton's more annoyed that players might not be paying subscriptions. Jimmy Simpson absolutely kills it in this episode, and I think it's the funniest performance I've ever seen him give.
Nate? Who is that?
Anyway, Walton's threatened to be exposed by the New York Times, which comes full circle on a report at the end. This includes a news ticker which has lots of references on the bottom. The first of these says Hotel Reverie is officially on Streamberry, which is the Netflix parody that came from season 6. We of course also had Hotel Reverie, which is an in-universe project from episode 3 of the season. We also discover that Thronglets 2 is in production, which too bloody right mate took over the world, those Thronglets. Alongside this is the mention of Rivermind and former UK Prime Minister Michael Callow, who showed up in National Anthem. He's entering Celebrity Vet School, which keep him away from the pigs. Lastly, there is what I believe is a nod to Demon 79, as we have the talk of a mysterious talisman. That gets a further nod later, as Papa Esadu plays one of the players at the end of the episode. This is alongside Ajana Vasan, who was also part of that entry. Alongside this is Tommy Innit and Dan TDM. He was in Minecraft this week as well. Like, what the hell, mate? You're asking YouTubers to be in stuff. Hit up your boy, I'll do for free. Either way, the journalist clearly rattles Walton when he asks about the DNA digital cloner. That's now been found at Daly's and is obviously highly illegal. It initially plays like Walton's worried about his company, but we later learn it's because he's the one who bought it. He was the one who got Daly to clone himself and basically used his copy as a slave. Feels a lot like the egg from White Christmas, where digital copies were made to do the same thing. Inside the game, we also see as bandits rob the player Pixie, and I did wonder if her goggles were a nod to Ashley, as they have that kind of look to them. And the costume because it's very pink. I went back to check out the song playing on her headphones, and this is actually Ashley's on a roll, so yeah, makes sense, it's a nice touch. Speaking of music, in space the crew's confronted by a Metallica themed ship. We also have a play on Nine Inch Nails' Head Like a Hole, which has been reworked into a pop song. Through Pixie's gameplay back, Nanette then discovers her copy. Inside, the group desperately want to build a bubble universe, but in order to do that, they have to go to the source. It's very Matrix revolutionary, and it requires Walton to do it. Having been atomized last time, it turns out there's a part of him that made it through to this universe, and thus he's respawned on the nearest planet. Well, like the nearest planet to when he was respawned. It's very Star Trek, desert, barren, wastelandy, mixed with a bit of Jumanji. Turns out that Walton's also got a rock called Rocky that he's drawn a face on, which is a clear nod to the Wilson ball in Castaway. Except this one has a hole in the back for some reason. Alongside this, we also see as the outside versions of Nanette and Walton go through daily stuff. This includes several comic versions of Space Fleet, which get more of a focus at the end. We also have box sets in Daly's virtual garage. Alongside with this is a box from Saitu Gemu. This is a nod to the company that created Playtest, and they're also the minds behind Striking Vipers. Along with this is also a poster for Valdak's Revenge. In the first USS Callister, Valdak was the villain Cole was playing, so it's a sort of Wrath of Khan homage with him instead. Either way, upon learning the truth, Nanette threatens to go to the reporter. However, she smashed the like button just before doing this. Sent into a coma, she ends up at St. Juniper's Hospital, which is a clear nod to San Junipero. We also learn of Walton's past and see he had the receptionist in his sports car. She's obviously in the game, and as we go in the garage, we see a poster up with the alien skin and boots that Daly made her wear. He does stare at her a bit as she sits in the car, so potentially this started his attraction to clone her in the game. Walton just asks when you can shoot people, whereas Daly wants to make an actual experience. It's something that was discussed with a Tronglitz game and Plaything, and a nice thematic carryover from that. During this time, the Callister crew go to the Heart of Infinity, which I thought might be a tenuous link to Thor Love and Thunder. It's probably not, but I thought I'd mention it. And in this time, Walton from the real world sneaks into the game. If it's brought to light that the entire universe was built by a clone, then that would completely destroy his company and reputation. Thus he sneaks in and sends out a mass invite to every player the bandits have ever robbed. Arriving to Digital Daily, Nanette sees him as initially sweet and kind. I have to say, I was blown away by either the de-aging in this episode or how much weight Jesse Plemons has lost. Looks 10 years younger, and it turns out he lost 50 pounds. They've also grown out his hair, but he looks great. He offers her two choices as well, and again, this is a clear nod to the Matrix. The first allows her to either go back to a comatose body, but in doing so, this will wipe out her friends. The second will copy and paste. Wait, did he say copy? No, cut and paste, mate. You cut and paste it. Yeah, it turns out Daly's up to his old, future ways, and he wants to keep a copy of Nanette with him. I also love as the football player gets taken out of the game at an hour 15 that he shouts bollocks, which his mum tells him off about. He's been using the word bottom instead of arse to avoid swearing, so it's a nice touch as to why that is. In the end though, Nanette kills Daly and then wipes the entire game. The crew's then cut and pasted across into her body in the real world. It's very being John Malkovich, and they must now live inside her head. They have a deal, so they'll close her eyes when she goes to the bathroom, is in Arkham Asylum, or hooks up with a Tinder date, but that's actually, it's a very twisted ending. Screen Rant apparently attended a roundtable meeting with Christina Milioti, and here's what she had to say about the entry and also its potential sequel. We don't have a clip, so I'll have to do the voice. What I like about this ending, just in terms of my own taste of what I watch, and I think this is what's really great about what Charlie makes, is that you could say it's kind of happy. Technically, they're out of that situation, but I think they're in an equally horrifying situation. It's just the circumstances are so completely different, and I hope that it makes you feel uneasy. Their lives aren't at risk, but do you want to live like that? Do you want to live trapped in one room, having to see someone go to the bathroom every day? They still have no agency, and then she now has this thing that could also drive you crazy. She doesn't seem super motivated to get them out of there anymore, and what does that mean? And also, how does this person who's now had the trauma of 2 different people in their body walk through the world? I like that it's kind of creepy and twisted, for lack of better terms. Now, when discussing the sequel, she said they hadn't really had any discussions about a 3rd one, and hadn't thought that far ahead. However, she did say that she was interested in seeing what Brooker was going to explore, and how all these episodes are about how power corrupts people. You can't have power without being corrupted in some way. And what would that mean for someone who has had such a strong moral compass who then gets a taste of getting to control people? I don't know. There's a lot that could go many different ways. That would be very interesting, but I don't have a set thing. However, with this being the first sequel episode, like full-on sequel, I do think that we'll get a trilogy. It'll be interesting to see what happens, and obviously, in the meantime, I'd love to hear your thoughts below. Please drop a comment and also hit the thumbs up while you're down there. And did you know that members of the channel also get early access to videos every week? If you click the join button, you'll get at least 1 breakdown a week before anyone else. Huge thank you to everyone who's done it. We've set it at 99 cents. Hopefully not a lot to you. If a lot of you guys do it, means a hell of a lot to us. We really appreciate it. And with that out of the way, thank you for watching Black Mirror Season 7, all our coverage. I know you watched them all. You hit all the thumbs up as well. I've been your host, Paul. You've been the best. I'll see you next time. Take care. Peace.